Ye lads and lasses, top of the morning to you. It's St. Paddy's Day, time to celebrate. If I could speak in my Irish accent, I would have said it to you that way, but since I don't speak Irish, you're going to have to deal with the American accent. At any rate, St. Patrick's Day is apparently the day Americans eat corned beef and cabbage, get drunk, and throw a parade for themselves, only to experience a nice hangover the next day. 1% of all the beer in the world is consumed on St. Patrick's Day, according to an article I found from Good Earth Plant Company. Much of it is Guinness, the dark Irish beer, which sells more than any other individual brand on St. Patrick's Day, they write. People drink 5.5 million pints of Guinness on an average day. On St. Patrick's Day, they will consume 13 million pints of Guinness, close quote. I did some digging. Turns out that drinking and this St. Patrick fellow we're commemorating have about as much to do with each other as the Easter Bunny does with Easter. Yet somehow, the two have become inextricably linked. St. Patrick's Day becomes a day when a lot of different things having to do with being Irish get lumped together. According to Chris Cahill, the executive director of the Institute for Irish American Studies at the City University of New York's Lehman College. That's what she told ABC News. So let me tell you what I learned for this week's Good Question. I bet you didn't know that 1% of all the beer in the world is consumed on St. Patrick's Day. Which is kind of ironic because this whole tradition of getting drunk really has very little to do with the origins of St. Patrick's Day. In fact, it has more to do with the people who started it here in America. St. Patrick's Day always has been an American holiday. Very little connection to Ireland. There are 36 million Americans in the United States with Irish ancestors. Ireland, the country as a whole, only has 4.5 million people. So that being said, this St. Patrick fellow that we're commemorating on this day, he's not Irish. He's Welsh. The only connection he has to Ireland is that he was brought to Ireland as a slave. Second of all, his name isn't Patrick. Never has been. His name is Maewyn Succat. But no one really wants to celebrate a day called St. Maewyn's Day, so St. Patrick's Day is the next best alternative. But let's break this down for you. St. Patrick, or Maewyn, as I mentioned, brought to Ireland as a slave. While he was a slave, his master taught him Christianity. He converted. Later escaped and went back to his home country of Wales, where he studied in a monastery for many years until he became a bishop. He then decided to return to Ireland as a missionary and teach Christianity to the Irish natives. And legend says that he taught the concept of the Trinity using a native Irish plant called a shamrock, a three-leaf clover as we know it. Now, many years later, during the Irish potato famine in 1845, many Irish settlers immigrated to America. And as it often goes with minority groups in this country, they weren't very well received, treated very poorly, and they began to protest how they were treated. So, like any normal human being, they threw a great big parade for themselves. They got drunk. They ate corned beef and cabbage and had a nice hangover the next day. And we Americans, because we're always up for a party, we joined in and adopted it as a yearly festival. Where did the green come from? Well, the color for St. Patrick's Day was originally blue. But green made more sense because green is one of the colors in the Irish flag. Ireland is often referred to as the Emerald Isle for its lush green landscape. And finally, thanks to these Irish immigrants, we have a celebration in Chicago every year where the river is dyed green. So, St. Patrick's Day, we go green. Why do we celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Your guess is as good as mine.